We're going to start off today with Vision Zero, which sounds very, I don't know, futuristic, but what is Vision Zero?
Well, it's not futuristic, but it is European. At least that's where it started. It's something that began in Sweden, but it's an international approach to traffic management and safety in 40 localities across the United States, including our neighbors Alexandria, Montgomery County, and the district, have become a part of the Vision Zero community and adopted the framework that says traffic deaths and severe injuries are in fact preventable. And that should be the guiding sort of light behind traffic management. And it's different than the way in which we've traditionally done things in this country, where we essentially accept that there are bad things that are going to happen and we kind of engineer our networks to do the best they can. Vision Zero sort of takes it to the next level and says, if you incorporate not only systems design, but recognize human failures and involve people in being educated about how to use our various road networks, we can actually reduce the incidences of severe injury and death.
Okay, so how does this program work? It sounds very good in theory, but how does it actually become implemented?
So, good news in Arlington, we've done a lot of good things that are very much in the Vision Zero approach, where we have our various modes that people use our roads, whether it be active transportation, cars, transit, and we very much tried to figure out how to safely accommodate all of those users. And as a result, even though our population has grown, the number of severe injuries and death have decreased over the last 5 years. So we think that we're very much in the spirit of Vision Zero, but what we hope to gain from it are the best practices from those 40 communities in the country and many more around the world, where we can figure out how to do even better. Because quite frankly, we should get to the point where any severe injury or death on our public roadways are too many. And that's where we can always do better, and we should do better.
And one of the actions that we took was not just adopting this resolution and the board policy level commitment to it, but we tasked the manager, the county manager and staff to come up with an implementation plan, which they'll be working on over the next 12 to 18 months with a draft completion date in fall of 2020. The goal is, of course, to engage our citizens, but also to engage interdepartmentally. There was a lot of community push to adopt Vision Zero, for example, as part of the bike element update of the master transportation plan. And one of the things that we heard loud and clear from our experts and a number of well-informed citizen stakeholders was that if you make it a bike priority, then that really limits all of the interdepartmental folks and all of the different types of stakeholders that need to be involved in the conversation. So that is the conversation we've asked the manager and staff to have, as well as looking at, as Mr. Dorsey was suggesting, those international and national best practices. So we're looking forward to seeing the more specific plan and the steps to get us to the goal of zero traffic fatalities and deaths.
So it's pretty much just kind of a best practices sharing at a global level with communities that have bought into this particular strategy. What can our residents expect from this kind of thing? Will there be changes in traffic laws? Will there be, different signal operations? What can they expect at the literal street level?
Well, that's excellent, and we don't exactly know. We suspect that it's going to be a lot of what we do now, but maybe refined and under a better, more comprehensive focus. So I think we have some of the best roadway design and engineering folks who work in local government anywhere around. I think they do a tremendous job accommodating all of our various users, but there's still probably work that they can do. The biggest piece that I at least see coming from this is a public awareness approach to this. When we typically hear from people about traffic issues, it's about a spot issue. Here's a problematic intersection, or here's an area where I don't feel safe. Can you fix that area? Part of, I think, what Vision Zero is going to do is to figure out how we can better engineer those, design those roadways, but also how we can better educate people as to the hazards and the concerns, and to see that there's different behavior from them. So that's where I think the true promise is going to come from not just assigning the priority to the people who design the roadway, but to all of us who use it.
That's absolutely right. And to give specific examples, one of the principles that I know we've adopted to some extent, and I think Vision Zero will help speed along, Kara, when you were asking about how will things look differently at the street level, is historically in this country specifically, there's been a real emphasis on getting as many cars through intersections and roadways as fast as possible, as many as possible. And I think what Vision Zero and good safety-oriented multimodal planning really does is say, how do we make sure everyone, no matter their mode, can get through this, for example, intersection as safely as possible? And one of the things I love about Vision Zero is that it doesn't assume perfect driver or human behavior. It recognizes that there are going to be people who are distracted on their cell phones, tending to a passenger or talking to a passenger. And so how do you create, again, to use that example of the intersection that has the visual cues or the physical cues that slow that vehicle down, so that if there is an interaction, an unexpected interaction, a distracted driver, the speeds are slow enough, the visual cues are enough that those brakes can be tapped fast enough to avoid a collision.
Serious. Because here in Arlington especially, we have so many different forms of transportation.
Yeah.
You have people taking public transit, you have people in their own cars, you have bikes, scooters, walking, you name it. So there's a lot of
Uber and Lyft and delivery drivers who aren't familiar with
a lot of
Arlington.
moving parts
Which is
going.
a huge element of this. You know, when you talk about human behavior and failing behavior, even though it's not legal for people to double park and to park in curb lanes, we can't pretend that it doesn't exist.
Yeah. Right.
So we have to factor all of that into what we do.
So you mentioned, Kitty, the manager's going to be working on this with staff for the next year plus or so?
Our goal is to have a draft plan completed in fall of 2020. But I think people can expect some initial public engagement as soon as this fall.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, it'll be really interesting to see what that study comes up with.